private enterprise in India has been growing at a feverish pace over the last few years. This space has been fueled by a whole lot of interesting avenues of finance, and private enterprise have looked outside of traditional banks to fund their businesses. Private credit is one of these interesting ideas that has come up, and we as investors have a great amount of opportunity to gain from this entire ecosystem. And welcome all of you to another session of Navigate with HSBC, where we take you through the nuances of investment and enable you to take the right decisions when planning for your future. We are very happy to share with you that this evening we have with us Shamal. Shamal is the Managing Director and Chief Investment Officer for RV Capital, who are a very large private credit player globally and now in India. Shamal, thank you for giving time to us for this session.
Thank you for having me, and lovely to be here.
Thanks, Shamal. Shamal, so before I have a barrage of questions for you, but before I get there, a bit about yourself, Shamal. We of course know each other, but tell us a bit about yourself and about RV Capital.
Okay, so RV Capital is a Singapore-based asset manager. We've been here more than a decade, since 2011. Broadly, we have three strategies focused on Asia macro strategy, Asia credit strategy, and now the latest one, which is India private credit strategy. As far as I am concerned, so I have been in the Indian market for last 25 plus years, worked across 3 NBFCs, 2 banks, mostly in private credit space. The idea is really to bring my learnings over the years, having seen multiple cycles, whether it's Asian credit crisis, whether the global financial crisis, taper tantrum, bring all that learning into this fund and into the strategy that we have launched here 2 years back. So that's the plan here, to really grow this business here, because we see a great opportunity in this market on the private credit side.
Private credit as a medium, how is it different from other traditional forms of financing?
Okay, so from a borrower's perspective, it is different because private credit provides a bespoke, customized solution, meeting the end-use requirement, the end-use, the coupon requirement, the cash flow requirement, and the collateral which is available. That flexibility a typical bank financing doesn't have, because there's a very standardized, straight-jacketed structure that it has to be monthly coupon, certain kind of assets, fixed assets, manufacturing assets, machinery, etc. has to be given. And end use cannot be, let's say, acquisition financing, things like that. So that's the big difference from the borrower's perspective. I think the bigger difference is from the investor's perspective. Now, investors in India has traditionally been investing in traditional asset classes like mutual funds and equities and bonds, typically listed AAA kind of bonds, like high quality bonds. Now, increasingly what we're finding is that it's becoming more and more difficult to generate alpha from these traditional asset classes, especially on the fixed income side. And especially after the 2023 April amendment to the taxation rules, which brought the entire fixed income world on a level playing field in the Indian context. What is happening is now there's a 4 to 5% alpha between what a traditional mutual fund, debt mutual fund can generate versus what a private credit AIF can generate. So that has been the key factor really driving it. So it's mainly the search for alpha, and secondly, more and more we're finding that the mutual fund investors are also moving toward index funds. So that is one, it's going towards the index, and on the other hand, it's going to alternative assets in the search of alpha. So that's the key driver.
You spoke a bit about regulation and how that has been one of the factors driving private credit. Would you give us slightly more details about how that has happened, and also about market forces that have been playing around apart from regulation itself?
So I would say there are 3 key regulations which has really driven this market. First is the 2012 SEBI regulation on AIFs per se, because before that there was no platform which was so organized and so clearly defined, which gave an opportunity for alternative investment managers to manage the funds. People are using offshore structures, etc., etc. So that's the first one. The second one, I would say, the insolvency in the bankruptcy code 2016. Before that, the Indian, I would say, the Indian resolution or debt resolution or restructuring market was like a wild west. One never knew what is going to happen, how long it is going to take, if there's a problem, whether you ever get anything back. It could go on for 10 years, civil suit could go on for 10 years, etc., etc. Now we have a situation which is at least an organized mechanism where the resolution can happen. Of course, it's not perfect. but nothing is perfect. We still have a situation where at least the borrower, before he defaults, he thinks twice because he risks losing the company. The third thing which has really happened, as I said, is that the taxation change which happened in 2023, especially from a debt perspective. So that's really brought a level playing field. And at a big picture level, I think the main driver has been the fact that regulators, which are like RBI, etc., they have been very focused to ensure the banking system remains robust. They're focused on asset quality, etc. Asset quality, the NPAs have come down from 14% to 3% in public sector banks in the last 6-7 years. They've also ensured that banks don't lend to certain asset classes, and that's where the opportunities got created. Like as I'm mentioning, capital market transactions, acquisition financing transactions, banks cannot do. And then the NBFCs, which were doing it earlier in 2018, a lot of issues happened. They had an ALM structure which was not perfect. Many of them unraveled, defaulted, etc., and they kind of exited this segment, leaving the entire space open for the funds to really come in there.
Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Navigate with HSBC. Please follow us on all social media platforms at HSBC India. Also log on to our website in the description below. Thank you.
Why there's a premium between a AAA bond and what a private credit pays?